Dear courageous soldiers and brave brothers and sisters trapped in Gaza, I have just returned to the United States from a week-long trip to Israel. I am flooded with thoughts and emotions about everything that I witnessed. It was not like the trips I have taken to Israel before, which were filled with activities like jeeping, hiking, ziplining, and exploring the land. I had a mission. That mission was to try to understand what happened to you on October 7th. How the 7th of October, in the blink of an eye, switched your reality from one of joy to horror. How you went from dancing at a festival to becoming an imprisoned hostage. How you went from the calmest neighborhood in Israel to the scene of an erupting war. How the war you are fighting triggered an incomprehensible wave of anti-Semitism worldwide. Did you even have time to process that you may not return? I dedicate this film to you. You are the true forces of resilience. Picture this scene. It's the happiest day of your year, dancing, great food, and clear blue skies. That is how the morning of October 7th started for practically everyone. Suddenly, the rumors start to flow, sirens echo everywhere in Israel, and the sky has now turned from a beautiful blue to an ominous gray. You can sense the fear in the air. In a matter of moments, it seems as if the world is ending. Everyone remembers where they were on the day that the unimaginable happened.
I was at Harvard Chabad. It was the joyous Jewish holiday of Shmini Atzeret, of Simchat Torah.
We heard booms in the background.
And someone came in and said there's a war in Eretz Yisrael, we have to say it to him.
On the way to shul, we started to, I was walking with my 13-year-old twins, and we started to hear, booms, rockets.
I remember saying this to my son-in-law, like, why aren't they fighting back?
And rumors begin to circulate. There was a bombing, there was a shooting, it was a stabbing.
As insane as this sentence is to say, we were used to it by then, but so that wasn't even like something that shocked us too much.
200 people dead, 50 people were taken hostages. I didn't believe it.
So obviously we realized something bigger was going on.
The children, the kids of the community, the 18-year-olds started to get called up to the army, and so we knew something was up.
It was the most surreal scene to see, like all these, young guys who were just in shul now getting into cars and leaving. So we knew it was obviously a big deal.
I'm just gonna do my best, and I by Ma'ariv then I turned to my friend in shul. I said, we're going into Gehenna right now.
And we all was in the small stage. My friend preferred the music over there. It was beautiful.
I'm looking up to see who put fireworks in this bright light.
Music suddenly stopped, and we all was shocked for a second. And then we saw the rockets. Emergency gate opening. Everyone running out like crazy.
How did it happen? How did hundreds of terrorists attack the nation that has the most sophisticated intelligence system in the whole world? How did Hamas plan this for months without being stopped? We have all asked ourselves these questions. But most importantly, how did we recover from the biggest massacre on the Jewish people since the Holocaust? I'm going to take you inside the Nova Festival Memorial, where I speak with two survivors who will share their incredible stories of resilience.
So as I'm driving away on this gravel route, which is parallel to the parking lot where we still stand, I'm basically passing by tons of other vehicles that are still struggling here in those furrows on the way to the dirt path, which is where this green Jeep is now standing.
In the distance, Amit continued to hear the echoing explosions. He sat in his car in a tremendous traffic jam trying to get out of the area.
There are at least 70 vehicles in front of me, all of them on the gravel route towards road number 232.
A voice appeared in his head and said, "Amit, don't stop, keep moving."
And this voice again tells me, don't stop, keep on moving, don't stop, keep on moving.
Amit made the decision to drive across a garden with thousands of dollars worth of plants on the side of the road.
All I can think about, what a bad person you are, Amit. You're gonna crush next year's flowers, but I'm doing that. I'm crossing on the terrain.
2 minutes later, he approached the road to get on Route 232.
My intention is to turn left. Left means north. That means that I'm passed by Kibbutz Be'eri, Kibbutz Alumim, Kibbutz Kfar Aza. But I cannot turn left because there is a police stop over there. A police vehicle is not allowing us to turn left.
At that point, Amit had zero knowledge that there were terrorists infiltrating the area. As Amit and his 3 friends that were at the party with him drove south of Route 232, they were made aware that about 3 minutes after they were directed south out of the Nova Festival, a pickup truck of terrorists came from the north side of Route 232 and murdered everyone in the line of cars waiting to get out. The 7th of October. If not for the voice in Amit's head telling him, "Don't stop, keep moving," he wouldn't be standing here with me today. Right here in this bomb shelter is where many were tragically murdered. The terrorists stood right over there across the street, shot an RPG into there, which forced some of them to come out, and were eventually shot at point blank by the Hamas terrorists. So much tragedy everywhere you go here. Right here, across the street on the Avenue of Death. So much tragedy. As I was walking through the Nova Festival Memorial, I saw hundreds of pictures of smiling young faces whose lives were shattered for no other reason than pure hatred. I could only imagine who these people were and what their lives were like. Daniel Sharabi, a Nova survivor and a hero in his own right, told me about the lives behind 3 of these photos.
I want to start with my friend. This is Ori Danilo. Ori is serving in the army. And he back to rescue some people from the party. And then he got killed at Tosa. 2 days before the army found him, he was shot in his face to make it hard to recognize. One time I remember we did a big journey. In the army, sometimes you woke up in the middle of the night and you walk in 6-7 miles with 50, maybe if it's pound, maybe 120 pounds on you and moving fast. And sometimes you need someone that push you. So he was always this guy that push everyone and give him the power to continue. She's one of my best friends that born alive, only different one born left. They shoot RPG missile on their ambulance and they kill them all. She's one of my best friends that died in this day. What's the matter about that? You can look on the smile and understand that every place that she arrived, everyone was smiling and happy. She always seeing the guy in the side and the guy that nobody care about, and sitting with them, start to talk and give him the best time. Such an inspiration. When you shoot the best one, my best friend at the hostage, Yosef Chaim Ohana. A while after October 7, I started to feel that I'm not doing enough for my friend that got kidnapped. He did a lot, sacrificed his life. A year and 12 days that he is in captivity. And what I'm doing, I decided to put tefillin every day and put to Instagram. invite people to join me. Every day I put Fuld in his page on Instagram, playing Yosef home. Maybe you can all join to me and put Fuld for Yosef that he will turn back soon. Bezrat Hashem.
It was Shabbos Parshas Toldos, November 2023, and Mrs. Jen Airley was sitting in shul when she had a feeling that she never experienced before.
I was in shul, and I don't know, I guess I just had that feeling. And I've heard other people have similar things where I just felt like I couldn't stay. I felt all tense, antsy, choky. I don't even know the words to describe it, but I just felt like I couldn't stay in shul anymore. As the day continued, like every regular Shabbos, some company, some Shabbos Suda, and the Shabbos Shluf, and I was upstairs sleeping, and then my husband comes running into the room saying, "Jen, quickly come." And I said, "Is everything okay?" I'm literally like repicturing, and he said, "No." And I said, "Are the children okay?" And he said, "No." So I quickly got dressed, and then as soon as I opened my bedroom door, I saw the soldiers there.
Binyamin was a teenage boy like you and me. He wanted nothing more than just to help his country become stronger and safer. Tragically, he lost his life doing just that. Binyamin was killed in battle in northern Gaza that Shabbos morning. Mrs. Airley could have easily given up. Her bitachon, her faith, could have been broken. But not only did her bitachon not break, it became stronger.
I asked Miriam, the soldier, when it happened, and she said the battle took place between 9:30 and 10:30 in the morning. Really, when it was Kriyat Torah, really when shul is winding down here, and it took me weeks to realize that she didn't say that's when Binyamin died. She said that was when the battle was taking place, and it made me realize that when we were davening, like he was alive. We were davening for his life, and we had no idea. But I share all the time that our tefillot, our prayers did not go on deaf ears. Hashem listened and He answered, and it was a very calculated answer. And I know that Hashem really, with the big no, with the big I'm taking Binyamin anyway, even though you would do anything in the world to keep him here. But He also gave us lots of neshikot, a lot of hugs and kisses through the whole process.
Even in such difficult times, we have not stopped seeing your direct involvement and love.
In addition to having an inspirational amount of bitachon, Mrs. Airley is probably the most positive person I've ever met. Even during the darkest times, she found some positive perspectives to help her come through stronger.
And I share, we feel privileged that it's a crazy thing to feel privileged for, but we feel privileged that we got a funeral when we wanted a funeral, a body to bury.
The Airley family's strength goes beyond thinking positively. They take positive action as well. They created Beit Binyamin.
He definitely felt being in Tzfat was like his spiritual place, his spiritual connection.
He was able to attract all types of Jews. He would love what we are doing here with Beit Binyamin. They're coming straight from Gaza, they're coming straight from the border of Lebanon. Perhaps they are lone soldiers, and this will be a place for them to recover. Soldiers will be able to rejuvenate.
I'd like others to have the opportunity to be part of this honor, to return, to give these guys, to give these girls, to give these families this opportunity to be part of helping build and fund and continue Beit Binyamin, so we can keep providing for all of these holy souls who have given so much for our country.
The power of Bitachon and thinking positively is so clear in Mrs. Airley. Like the Airleys, so many families have experienced loss since October 7th, and the worldwide Jewish community is with them. Achenu kol beis Yisrael. All the Jewish people are brothers. We have all been singing Achenu in the most heartfelt way during a Tzitz or in Shul each Shabbos. There is nothing like music to help us feel united as one and to help heal our pain. October 7th, 2024. 1 year later, I am sitting amongst my classmates at Heichal Torah, arms around each other, swaying to the soulful music of Eitan Katz as we commemorate a year gone by with the Tzitz. Our thoughts are on how much has changed since last year, how we hope and pray that this year will bring only good news and redemption. The energy in the room is transformed by the music. Moments before, we were 200 high school students rushing in from class and talking to our friends about day-to-day things. Now, we are united as one in melody, just as so many people have been while listening to Eitan Katz's beautiful music.
We had a very beautiful moment. We had like a big screen in the back, and while we were singing Achenu, we had the names of all the Chatufim scrolling down. So, and I told the people, I said, don't sing the song like it's some, regular Tzitz and hold arms, whatever it is. Look at those names and realize that those are people that at this very moment are sitting in a dungeon. Like Hashem Yishmor. It's hard to even say those words. Like right now, as we're talking right now, there's people my age, younger, sitting literally in a cave for over a year.
Why does Eitan Katz's music have so much power to uplift and inspire? His music conveys messages that allow us to strengthen our emunah and come together as a nation. I can all but see our voices streaming into the heavens. Hashem, please hear our song and answer our prayers. I want to take a moment to speak specifically to the teenage audience. While working on this project, I met Charlie Breda, a junior at Frisch, who after October 7th immediately realized that he needed to do something to help.
And immediately, once October 7th happened, my head was rushing, oh my God, we need to do something. What could we do? And actually right after Yontif, someone from the IDF had reached out to me. He said hey, I know you're involved in giving out tzitzis, the IDF need, let's go, let's do something. So they had a high-ranking commander from the IDF write a letter to us saying guys, donate money, let's get tzitzis to the IDF, they need it, they need the spiritual protection. And actually that night after Simchas Torah, we raised over $25,000 just for tzitzis for the IDF. And
the impact of this distribution of tzitzis was not only inspiring, but life-saving as well.
There was a bunch of IDF people, and they were fighting Hamas, in combat, and the IDF didn't know if one of the guys was Hamas dressed up as IDF or they were just Hamas. They wouldn't tell who they were actually one of the IDF guys, and they were just debating should we shoot him, should we not shoot him? He looks suspicious. What do we do? And one of the guys goes, what was it? It's Hulovesh Tzitzit or something. One of his tzitzit strings was hanging out, and if he didn't have those tzitzis, they would have shot him, they would have killed him. But because he was wearing his tzitzis, the IDF commander saw, and they saw that he was Jewish and he was part of the IDF.
From a movement created by a teenage New Jersey native to spiritual protection across the world, the impact each one of us can make is enormous. Since October 7th, there has been a disturbing surge of anti-Semitism on college campuses. This is happening in some of our country's most prestigious universities, such as NYU, Columbia, and Harvard. Shabbos Kestenbaum, a Harvard student, has been a major voice in fighting the hate and harassment unfolding on campuses.
On the night of October 7th at Harvard University, we would have been lucky to have the silence of our friends. But instead, we had 34 student groups representing more than 1,000 students. These are our friends, these are our classmates, in some cases these are our instructors and educators, and their immediate reaction was to jump out of bed, some were still in their pajamas, to draft what they called an emergency statement, to blame Jews for the largest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. The statement literally begins, "We hold the Israeli apartheid regime entirely responsible for all unfolding violence in the Middle East."
At that point, Shabbos decided to get away from the toxic environment on Harvard's campus.
So after October 7th, I actually bought a one-way ticket to Israel. I did that because, yes, I wanted to get out of Harvard, but also because never in my life have I felt more connected to the Jewish people, more connected to the land of Israel, more proud of my Jewish values. And I didn't want to go back to Harvard. I was actually very much ready to leave and just not return. I mean, the campus environment was so hostile. Why would I play a part in it? And I remember I was actually in a bomb shelter that night because Hamas was firing rockets into Tel Aviv. And I remember reading texts from the Harvard student WhatsApp group before they kicked me out, where they were not only saying that Jews bombed a hospital, but they were also glorifying and celebrating the rockets that Hamas was firing into Israel that night. And I'm reading this in a bomb shelter, and at that point it sort of just clicked for me that I owed it to myself, I owed it to my family, I owed it maybe even to the Jewish people. I cannot allow these accusations, and I cannot allow America's future leaders to have such poisonous ideologies, to have such a poisonous treatment and image of the Jewish people.
Shabbos went on to take action in a major way. He is suing Harvard for allowing assault on Jewish students and for justifying hateful protests on campus. He is a voice against anti-Semitism on campus and refuses to stay silent.
My name is Shabbos Kestenbaum. I'm a second-year master's student at Harvard. I'm a proud Jew, I'm a proud American, and yes, I'm a proud progressive.
And so I decided I was going to come back to Harvard, and I would speak out. I would raise my hand in the classroom. I would post on social media. I would organize rallies. I would confront them in all the ways I could.
As a Holocaust studies scholar, Shabbos is in the unique position to understand how the anti-Semitism that he witnesses on campus today relates to the anti-Semitism experienced by European Jews in the World War II era.
That the Holocaust, Kristallnacht, it did not begin with book burnings, it did not begin with Auschwitz, it did not begin with mass deportations. It began with the acceptance, the normalization, and the celebration of anti-Semitism. And without hesitation, without reservation, I can assure you that it is that celebration, normalization, and acceptance of anti-Semitism on our university campuses that are eerily similar to the experience of German Jewry under the 30s. And that's why I do feel that what we're fighting is not just a war of rhetoric or a war of ideas, but it's a war for the very survival of the Jewish people, because we know what happens when that type of hatred goes unchecked.
If you could give a message to a college student who is really struggling with anti-Semitism, with hate consistently, what message would you give them?
Man, what message would I give them? Well, I think it's something you said. You know, there's this great line by Charles Dickens, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It is certainly the worst of times. I could tell you about my friends at Columbia who were stalked back to their dorm one night and were given death threats. I could tell you about the Harvard employee who threatened me with a machete. It's bad times, it's challenging times. But through that adversity have emerged real heroes, real leaders. And I'm not one of them, but I'm incredibly privileged and fortunate I get to be around so many of them. These are people who after October 7th said, I'm not necessarily religiously observant, but I want to wear a kippah. Or I don't really attend synagogue, but Friday night at my local Chabad on campus, I'll be there. Or I'm going to say a chapter of Psalms for a soldier fighting in Gaza right now. And as someone who's been privileged to travel across the country the last few months, I have met hundreds and hundreds of those young Jewish Americans, those young Jewish students who have taken ownership of their Jewish identity. And my message to the college students watching and listening is, yes, it is bad times, it's challenging times, but we will emerge through this because that's what we do as Jewish people. That's who we are. It's in our DNA. We have faced throughout our history persecution, oppression, and discrimination. This is our generation's fight, the fight on college campuses, the fight against anti-Semitism across this country. But it is a fight that we are so privileged and honored to be a part of. And I have never in my life been more confident in my Jewish values, more connected and attached to the land of Israel, and more proud to say I'm Jewish. And I know that there are thousands of Jewish students across the country who feel the exact same way.
Take a moment and internalize what Shabbos said. We will emerge through this because that is what we, the Jewish nation, do. This is our generation's fight. Who can shut down a multi-million-dollar technology consulting business and use his platform as a powerful, pro-Israel advocacy voice? Who can respond to anti-Semitic social media insults with sharp humor? The answer is the one and only Hillel Fuld, a proud Zionist, a proud Jew. During my interview with Hillel Fuld, I was amazed and inspired by his clarity of mission and his clear perspective that current events in Israel are part of our story as Am Yisrael, the most resilient nation.
I had complete clarity what I needed to do on that day, and I shut down my multi-million-dollar consulting business and refocused all my energy, my resources, my followers, everything to defend Israel and do full-time Israel advocacy online.
Hillel did just that. He has incredibly large social media platforms across the board. Our nation is so lucky to have this voice that spreads truth about current events and provides strength as our nation goes through this trying time. Hillel emphasized the importance of unity and sees the miracles that are happening now. Bizman hazeh.
I mean, our unity is our strength. Our unity is our identity. I mean, literally the very first thing that the Torah says about the Jewish people, before we were even a nation, we were standing at Har Sinai, and the first thing the Torah says is, Vayichan Sham Yisrael neged har. Famously, Rashi says, Ki ish echad b'leid echad. We were, our unity is who we are, it's what gives us strength. And unfortunately, the opposite is also true, and our division is what gives our enemies strength. And we found literal documents in Gaza, Hamas documents that say that the division in Israel and the internal fighting is what, gave them the motivation to attack on October 7th. So it is, in a very real way, our division is our weakness and our unity is our strength. Whether it's the Iron Dome, whether it's the rockets falling in empty spaces, whether it's, the aerial defense systems of Israel that were able to detonate 99% of the ballistic missiles and drones sent from Iran.
Hillel is part of a resilient family. After his brother Ari, Hashem Yikom Damo, was brutally murdered by a terrorist, his family established the Ari Fuld Foundation, which distributes primary emergency equipment for the IDF. Hillel is passionate about our nation's resilience.
I mean, we see this all the way back to literally Mitzrayim. I mean, the Torah says, and let me be clear, it's the Torah. It's not Rashi, it's not Gemara, it's Torah. The Torah literally says, the more the Egyptians persecuted the Jews, the more the Jews multiplied and flourished. And that defies logic. I mean, you'd think, a nation that's being persecuted would not multiply and flourish. It would be the opposite, but that's our nature. And so, we are an unbelievable resilient nation, and that resilience manifests in a historical reality that we like to call Am Yisrael Chai. But it's not just a song by Shlomo Carlebach. It's a real historical reality that, you and I don't know any Babylonians as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're all gone, and all of these empires that came after the Jews, whether it's ancient Egypt, the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, the Nazi Empire, the Soviet Empire, and on and on and on. They're all gone, and we're here, and that's because we are so resilient. Obviously, Hashem is on our side. Obviously, we have the IDF. We have many different things, but I think resilience, it literally is in our DNA.
What spiritual message do you have for the teens across the world that are watching this?
That we have to look at our heritage, right? In other words, everyone knows that Purim is such a happy day, but how many of us actually sat and thought about what Purim was? Because Purim was infinitely darker than October 7th. We're talking about the leader of the world, Achashverosh, leader, a king of 127 countries who agreed to annihilate us. We were done. That was the end of us. And here we are celebrating. And Hanukkah, it was a war we weren't winning, and here we are celebrating. And Pesach, 210 years of backbreaking slavery, and here we are celebrating. And so this war will, please God, be no different, and we will dance again in a very real way.
Dear courageous soldiers and brave brothers and sisters trapped in Gaza, 10 months have passed since my last letter to you. There have been so many ups and downs in the war you are fighting. Our nation has mourned the deaths of so many brave soldiers and been devastated by the news of the hostages that will not return home alive. We rejoiced when you, our courageous soldiers, eliminated the evil Sinwar and marveled at the synchronized explosive pager attack on Hezbollah leaders. 10 months may have gone by since my mission to Israel, but my mission to understand what has made you and our nation resilient has continued. Through meeting amazing individuals, I have learned about the force of survival, the force of positivity and bitachon, the force of song, the force of voice, and the force of pride. We can each find our own force and use it to make the Jewish nation strong and united. These forces come together in the most amazing way to produce a force of resilience.
Al hanisim v'al hapurgan v'al hagivrois v'al hateshurois v'al hamilchomois she'asisa l'avosenu bayomim mo'im b'azman hazeh.
Bayomim